Facebook family. Give you guys a few moments to get on, tune on. In the meantime, my name is Dr. Stephanie Pierre. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I'm going to go ahead and share this on in my private Facebook group. Okay. Hey, what's up, Uncle Gogo? How are you? How's the casa? How's Ashley? It's funny that you're tuning on here. Well, not funny, actually, it's a synchronicity. Of course it is, because this morning I was on my walk and Abuela was speaking to me very loud and clear. And so I got inspired to come on here and share a bit about my story as it pertains to going back to Cuba and my, for me, like the beginning of my personal awakening. And, and what I mean by that is like waking up to more of my gifts, to magic and root magic and my ancestry and all of those different things. So you just can't make this up. So of course you're on here. So I guess I'm just going to get right into it. These past couple of days, I've been getting on here because I've been receiving some requests, people wanting to know more about me, more about what it is that I do and how I work. And so I've made it a point to do that and share with you guys my story, share with you guys my passions and the different ways and opportunities that you can start playing in my world and doing the things with me. And in the meantime, also, just sharing what's on my heart every single day. Something that is also, that I wanted to riff about as well is that Venus has just moved into the sign of Cancer. And after Gemini, in my not so humble opinion, I would say that Cancer is one of the most misunderstood signs of the zodiac. So, a lot of people, when they think about Cancer energy, they think of the mama, right? It's the very mama archetype, like sweet and nurturing and cuddly, and cooking and a homebody and all, and they're not wrong, right? Like all of these things totally apply. However, there was something coming through. Snap. What was it that I wanted to? Oh, well, I'm going to keep rolling and maybe it will come back through. So yeah, so whenever a planet, by the way, moves into a new sign, maybe I'm going to tag you guys. I'll tag some of you guys because I feel like, sometimes when I do these, I just get on impromptu, because for me personally, like I thrive on spontaneity. And where I'm at in my life, like with right now I'm hosting the Mermaid Cleanse container. I've got other private clients that I'm working with. I've got other master classes and group programs that are on a schedule. And even though I give myself plenty of flexibility and space within that schedule, I also really like to have spontaneity. And, when you're working with people that are all over the world in different time zones, being spontaneous all the time definitely is, it can be a bit challenging, right? So with where I'm at right now, I've just been getting on like as I'm inspired to get on, without like, this is what time I'm getting on. And so what's been happening is I've been having a lot of people come in and watch like after the fact, but not like while I'm here. So let me go ahead and tag some of the usual suspects of mine, my people, and then I'll keep riffing more, about Venus into Cancer. I'm going to be sharing you guys some things about my personal journey and like my root work, like going back to my roots and my family, and actually how that was the beginning of my awakening in how I began revolutionizing my business, and also opening up to more and more of my spiritual gifts. Okay. All right. Well, I've tagged some of the people. So, all right. So I'm going to continue on. So, where was I? Where was I at? I was talking about Venus. Oh yeah, Venus into Cancer. So, whenever a planet moves into a new sign, that planet's significations are very heightened. So, a great way, if you want to start learning about the planets, is to pay attention to when a planet moves into a new sign. Because in your life, whatever happens, and pay attention, you will see take on the characteristics of that said planet. So, something that I also want to share with you guys, that I'm so grateful for. I'm loving how this is all weaving into each other as I'm like tuning in here. I am so grateful for the art of astrological magic, because astrological magic is experiential and experimental. And what I mean by that is it's a way to learn about astrology and a way to learn about the elements, the elements of alchemy or the elements of nature, or for those of you guys who are, savvy, or you are familiar with the 5 elements in Chinese medicine, or even the doshas, there's a lot of like the elements of nature: water, wood, or water, that's in 5 element theory, but water, air, earth, and what am I missing? Fire. It's a totally different ball game to read about them in a book, or to listen about them on a podcast, or through, any sort of, media, than it is to actually experience them in your body. And this is where that archetype piece that I was talking about yesterday comes in, right? It's like, once something lands into your body, you're fully integrating it. It's not just something in headspace that you're like, Gemini energy is like this, or, this is what Venus energy is like. It's no, oh my God, I feel this. I know this because it's inside of me. I will never ever forget the very first time that I had made a Venus talisman with astrological magic, and I wore it. And I mean, it was just like it was crazy, like sexy, like bedroom time with my man. But it was like, I mean, I have Venus in Scorpio. Okay, if you know anything about anything, you know that Scorpio is all about sex. Um, but Venus, even though Venus is the goddess of love, Venus isn't so much about, I mean, she loves sex because of the pleasure aspect of it, but Venus is about relationships and the connection. So it's not so much about like the passionate, primal, like animalistic desire aspect that is, I would say, more of the masculine side of sex. Venus is, more about the connection and the intimacy. And so I will never forget that in that experience, I was just like, and from that moment on, I was just like, whoa, like there is really something to this. And my heart was just opening and opening and opening. And I remember saying to myself, oh my God, I didn't even know what love was. Like I thought I knew what love was. And if you had asked me, I'd have been like, yeah, I know what love is. I feel like I'm in love. I know that feeling of love. I mean, but not to this level, not to this deep awareness that I had had. So, and that's what I mean by it's like, it's something that you experience. And so something that I would say comes close to that, right, is paying attention to when a planet ingresses, because, and it's only like, I would say you'll feel that for 24 hours, where it's like this magnification of the energies of that planet. And so Venus, as I said, is the goddess of love. She is about relationships. She is, and relationships and through shared values. She rules over Taurus and Libra. Taurus is all about values, and Libra is, also about the values that, like the social graces and the values of society, of culture. Whereas Taurus is more about personal values, like this is what I value, as opposed, because it's internal, it's a feminine sign, whereas Libra is a masculine sign, so it's the external beauty, the external values in culture, as opposed to Taurus, which is internal beauty, how I feel about my beauty. Do I feel my own beauty? So Venus is moving into the sign of Cancer today, which means that, the way that we make connections, through shared values is in the realm of Cancer, right? And so Cancer being the sign of, it's the mama, the mother, the divine mother archetype, and has everything. Oh, let me just do not disturb, because then I get all the, okay. And it's actually funny, and I'm super excited because in the mermaid cleanse in the container, I'm super, super stoked because I just dropped in there for them the music playlist. Something that I quite frequently do is I create playlists for all of my containers. It's sometimes something that I do, for specifically for clients to help them attune to a certain energy, or whatnot. And so Venus is the goddess of beauty and the arts and music and what else would I say? Like games, like things that you do for fun to play with other people, and so like joy, being in joy and being in celebration with your besties or with your girls, like that's, in joy. And so I just sent them the new playlist for the Mermaid Cleanse. And tomorrow we're going to be starting actually delving into the moon magic portion, which I'm just super, super stoked about. So, okay, so coming back to Cancer, so it's one of the, after Gemini, I would say one of the most misunderstood signs of the zodiac. And you have to remember, that that Cancer, yes, right, is about family and values family, and it's the home. You know, it's the womb. It's Cancer symbolizes all of our containers. You know, the contain, you know, how we contain ourselves, how we contain others in our love. You know, Cancer incubates love and creativity. So the breasts, the parts of the body, you know, would be the breasts, the womb, the sinus cavities, the stomach. You know, these are all like sacs that contain fluids. So, you know, and because, you know, water needs to circulate, needs to move, you can always, like, you know, if there's imbalances within your moon, with your moon sign, in your moon nature, your menstrual cycle, these areas of the body will tend to exhibit symptoms of dis-ease or disharmony. So having any sort of imbalances within your menstrual cycle, within your womb, your breasts, your sinus cavities, and your stomach are all signs and symptoms that the Cancer energy and or the moon, the lunar energy within you, within your psyche, within your body is out of balance. And so Venus, from an astro-medical point of view, so something that I wanted to share with you guys as well is, you know, as a doctor of Oriental medicine, I also utilize astrology as in medical astrology to diagnose based upon people's charts, to prescribe, to look at the body, to, you know, ascertain where there's stagnation, deficiencies, excess, just like in Chinese medicine. So in Chinese medicine, from my background, you know, typically what we look at is the tongue and the pulses, as well as just listening to somebody's voice, looking at the color of their skin, asking questions. These are all ways to diagnose where the body is at in terms of homeostasis. And so something that I've also expanded my practices is looking at the birth chart. You know, from the birth chart, you can, you know, fertility, like actually knowing when somebody's going to be more fertile, ideal times to get pregnant or when not, you know, diagnosing and prescribing things, astro remedies, all, you know, an amazing avenue that, you know, I've brought into my practice. And so Venus, energetically, when she moved, Venus is wet, right? I mean, she's the goddess of light, right? She's the sea foam born goddess, right? So she brings a lot more water, but harmony. So this is a great time if you have been wanting to heal and bring more harmony to the area of your life, like anything that rules over Cancer. So in your family, you know, in your home, if you want to beautify your home, this is a great time to really focus your attention on beautifying your home. And actually these are, so what was I going to say? Spoiler alert. This is what we're going to be delving into inside of the Mermaid Cleanse Deeper, is working with Astro Decor. And we're also going to be doing this as well inside of the High Priestess constellation, which for those of you guys already inside of the Mermaid Cleanse, you already get that as part of your package. But if you're not inside of the Mermaid Cleanse and you're interested in the High Priestess energy, which is about the moon, it is an archetype of the moon, by the way. So if you resonate with that or you're interested in that, that is something that is, let me get this. When you get on, say hello so that I can say hello back to you. You know what I realize is that on my phone, I'm not able to see the comments. Like it's, I figured it out before, but if for whatever reason it's not working, so let me see who, I forget to check on my laptop. If you're on, say hello in the comments so I can say hello back to you, and or if you're watching this on the replay, hashtag replay. Okay, so the High Priestess constellation is a 10-day incubator. So it's it's a condensed, a little bit, I wouldn't say like, it's a little bit faster paced because it's condensed. It's a 10-day incubator all about the High Priestess constellation. So activating and embodying the archetype of the High Priestess constellation. I'm super, super stoked and excited about it because I'm going to be bringing a lot of the glamour, magic aspect of my work into this. So role play, ritual, makeup, and a lot of other really cool stuff. So that is beginning on the 25th. So I will go ahead and place a link in the comments here if you are interested in joining me in that. It is, I believe, $333, and there's a payment plan as well. And I'm also hosting on the 23rd a free masterclass, Origins of the High Priestess, Soul Fractal, the oracular and sexual healing powers of sirens, snakes, dragons, and mermaids. So you definitely do not want to miss out on that one. It is going to be amazing. I mean, that's going to be, whoa, excuse me. That is going to be added bonus material inside of the High Priestess constellation. So, all right. So coming back to Venus, right? So Venus harmonizes wherever she is wherever Venus is in your chart or by transit, meaning where Venus is moving through the sky, is where she's bringing harmony. She's bringing love, she's bringing harmony, she's bringing beauty to that area of your life. And so it's a great time to beautify your home, to bring more beauty to how you nourish yourself, like self-care, nourishing your body, nourishing yourself with delicious, beautiful foods, maybe, putting more like intention and an aesthetic quality to your presentation and how you cook and how you serve your family, how you serve your man, how you serve your husband. Venus, of course, loves the oceans. And I mean, Cancer is also, like I said, memory and family. So that is a great way to really honor Venus in Cancer. And something that's very special about Venus in Cancer is that Venus has magical dignity in the first decan of Cancer. And so from an astrological perspective, if you practice Venus magic, and this is specifically decanic magic. I'm going to be going into this, by the way, with you guys tomorrow inside the Mermaid Cleanse. Venus has magical dignity. So what that means is that she actually has powers that are specific, magical power and potency that is specific in the first 10 degrees of Cancer that does not apply to any other place in the zodiac. So if you have Venus in Cancer within the first 10 degrees or now, so the way that this works is like when a planet is going through that area of the chart, even if you don't have it, meaning you weren't born with that placement, we all get to, it's like we're being lent, it's like everybody in the collective gets to experience that because it's being lent to you for a short period of time. So as of right now, for the next, I would say like 10 days or so, because Venus, she has like a fairly like fast clip right now. She's going a little bit over a degree a day. So it'll take her about a little bit less than 10 days to get through that first decan of Cancer. So from now till like in 10 days is like really the time to be taking advantage of that, more so than later in the month, if you really want to get like nitty gritty and all of that, which I do because the art of, for me anyway, astrological magic is it's picking like the rare, transits and working with them. You know, it's kind of like the weather. It's like not every single day is the weather like, you know, sunshine and rainbows and butterflies. I mean, we always have the ability to tune into beauty at any and all times. And however, you know, there's also just times where it's in surplus, right? It's in massive, massive overflow. It's not any different from waiting till the fruit is ripe on the tree to pick it because it's fucking ripe. The fruit is not always ripe on the tree. So it's the same, you know, premise with astrological magic. Okay. So so let me talk a little bit about the things about Cancer that maybe you don't know and to be aware of. So Cancer, like, and I would say this could be maybe more of like the shadowy aspect of Cancer, is that Cancer is also incredibly sneaky. You know, if you ever watch a crab in the ocean or at the beach, you know, like they're not very direct. You know, like first of all, crabs go sideways. They travel sideways. So they're not like that quality of not being forthright and not being very direct, right? Can be like the shadowy aspect. It's like a wishy-washy, not coming at you sideways, because there's a lot of insecurity, you know, in the feminine energy. In especially if you look at a crab, it has that very hard shell, but because inside it's so incredibly soft. So as a defense mechanism, you know, it's which is why triggers and defense mechanisms is ruled by the moon. So this is a great time to be working on those. Which is, I mean, it's also one of the reasons why, right? Like why I time my containers the way that I do is, you know, working on where you have any defenses up, where you've been, you know, putting walls up, you know, if you have a lot of triggers, you know, with your friends or with your family, you know, any of those sort of things, it's a great time to begin actually healing those, like really having the heart to, you know, either reopen, you know, a relationship that maybe you closed your heart off to out of defensiveness or reactivity. So anyhow, one of the shadows of people with, you know, Cancer energy and or strong lunar energy is being very reactive and defensive and insecure, and kind of like instead of being direct, they will come about things at a side angle. So, and there's like a sneaky quality to it, you know, because instead of like just going about what it is that they want, you know, in a direct way, they'll just kind of go about it in a backwards way or a side way, you know. So being very sneaky, having lots of secrets. It's a water sign. So for those of you guys who are, you know, 5-element practitioners, you know, or your acupuncture physicians, you're familiar with the water element. Water is all about secrets. You know, when you look, all of the treasure that is within water is beneath the surface. Everything that is of value in water is beneath the surface. You have to have the ability to go down. And that's also why water rules over sexual energy. It's what's down. It's what's down below. You can't access sexual energy up here. I mean, not really. I mean, you can. I mean, the brain, it's kind of funny because, you know, in Chinese medicine, this is kind of a side tangent, but for the Chinese medicine people that are tuning in, you know, one of the channels that belongs to the water element is the bladder, the urinary bladder. And the urinary bladder is all about, it's the nervous system. You know, the urinary bladder in the body runs like this right down the spinal column, all the way down, and then, you know, down the backs of the legs and down the sides of the feet. So it actually has so much to do with your nervous system and your brain. So the brain actually does have a connection to the water element quite a bit. And it's all about like the information, like your nervous system is like really being out, and gathering data like out on the periphery. That's a urinary bladder type, thing. Oh, if you're a water type, a water element type, and you're a urinary bladder type, nervous system activity and, I know I was going on a side tangent with that, but, because I was talking about the brain. Yeah. So with sexual energy. So, wow, I could go into a whole side tangent and riff all about different types of sex. Why some people have either, they might feel like they're incompatible. There's different types of sex, because there's different ways that the heart, you junction into the heart to experience an orgasm. And some people are what we call nervous system type sex, and other people are more heart protector type sex, and some people are both. And you can, and it's not like that one is wrong or one is right, and you can learn to be more of one or more of the other. I mean, like ideally, right? Like you want to expand your range in your lovemaking, you want to learn about both of these types. And for a lot of people that don't feel like they're sexually compatible, this is the reason why, is because one of them is nervous system related type sex and the other person is more heart protector. And that just means like what actually allows them to junction into the heart in an intimate way. So nervous system type sex is more about like information and data. It's very much akin to like, what happens if I press this button? It's like, ooh, like, so some lovers, like they, like they'll play you like an instrument, where it's just like, I know that if I do this thing, it's going to, she's going to get off like that. It's like, it's going to and that's a nervous system type sex. It's about knowing somebody mentally, like by the data, and knowing about its knowledge. That's why like the ancient way and in the Bible and a lot of like ancient texts, when they referenced saying he knew her or they knew each other, that actually meant that they had slept together, they had had sex. To know somebody means you have full knowledge of them. That's why to will is to know. You've done it. It's like, that's doing it and doing it and doing it. Wow. Okay. They did it. They know each other. I know all of you. I'm intimate with you. This is what I'm talking about. So to have that kind of knowledge, that intimate knowledge of knowing, I know exactly what buttons to press to make you get off, is so thrilling to people. And to allow yourself to know that about yourself and to be played like that by somebody else is so thrilling. It's like, it's sapiosexual. It's like, oh my God, like I'm so like fucking, it's like turned on by you and I like want to know everything about you. And it's like how you can get so turned on mentally. That's nervous system type sex person, okay? Versus a pericardium. What's up? Natalie's in the house. Okay, if any of you guys help a sister out, if any of you guys know how to get the freaking comments working again on my phone, please let me know. I mean, I'm on my laptop, but it's just not the same. It's like how I referenced yesterday. I'm like, it's like self-pleasure and like full-on sex with another person. It's just not the same. It's like, I want to connect with you like this. This is not working for me. So if you know, help a sister out. But I guess it helps me to stay focused on what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's, so actually, like, I would love to know, let me know in the comments if you feel like sharing. if that resonates with you, where you're like, oh my God, I'm totally a nervous system type sex, or I know somebody who has, or who is, or like, I think I kind of get that, or I really like that, or I don't like that. Natalie's, okay, so when did you come into the conversation? Because I was talking about it and explained about it. So you may have come in like right after I started talking about it. So Natalie's in the house. By the way, for those of you guys who are into sexual energy, definitely go and check out my girl and Dragon Queen pole star, Natalie Kabenjian. She is an amazing, I guess I would call, what blah, blah, blah. I was going to say sex educator, but let us know in the comments what you are. She's a sex alchemist. She's amazing. She has incredible, like when it comes to, you know, sensual and sexual awareness and healing and empowerment. Just now, I know what a sapiosexual is, LOL, and I relate with this. Okay, so I used the metaphor of nervous system type sex is, first of all, it's how in the body energetically that in order to reach orgasm, in order to actually junction into the heart, because that's essentially like what sex is, right? It's you having knowledge of another person on an intimate level and then coming into the heart, right? And it's connecting where I am like no other, in all of my secrets, in all of my mystery, where you and I are like no other. And I am allowing you into that world. I'm allowing you to see and feel that and to have knowledge of where I am like no other. And connecting that into the heart space with another human soul, where we are the same. In our hearts, namaste. You know, the light in me recognizes the light in you. I see you, right? It's like when you are staring into somebody's eyes, right? It's like you can see the little spark of light where you're like, oh my God, like it's me, right? It's like, because it's the soul fractal, right? It's the light, the soul, we're all fractals, like of the one, of consciousness, right? But at our depths, we're not the same, you know? And so it's when you bring those two together, that's the erogamos, that is the sexual energy, that is the masculine and the feminine coming together. So, but in lovemaking, there's two main ways that people junction into the heart from the sexual energy. And so one of them is via the bladder, which is called nervous system type sex. And this is akin to like knowing exactly what buttons to press on somebody, you know, and it's like it's somebody playing you like an instrument. You know, it's like, I know that if I do this and I do that and I do this, it's going to create a ripple. It's going to take a chain reaction. It's like A, B, C, boom, orgasm. You know, it's about data. It's about knowing somebody because it's the information that you have about them. It's intelligence. You know, intelligence is data, right? So this is very kinky a lot of times. This is where a lot of people that are, or when you're playing with kinks, this is actually what creates that. It's like, because the kinks happen if you want to get really nerdy on you, this is it. Now this whole live stream has become a sexual, elemental, and Chinese medicine sextrology lesson. But anyway, small intestine and the bladder are connected to each other. So that's actually how that junction happens, because the small intestine belongs to the heart, the fire element, and the bladder belongs to the water. So the bladder junctions through the connection in the small intestine and then into the heart. Now, let's go into the vanilla type sex. or what I call triple burner sex or pericardium heart protector type sex. Transformational pleasure and sex magician. There it is. There it is. Yeah, so definitely go and check out my girl. Okay, so this other kind of sex is more about like when you merge with another person's soul. You know, it's like, this is like where the two become one. You know, and it's like when you're together, it's just like, it's a lot more romantic, I would say. It's a lot more feeling and like melting and merging. And it's like, you know, when you are hugging somebody and it's like, I don't know where I end and where the other person begins. So it's a lot more feeling, you know, and this I would say is very Cancer related, because Cancer is about that energy where it's like merging and melting. It's like how when a mother is pregnant with a baby, they're one, right? It's like they're one, you know, it's like not quite that the baby is its own entity yet, right? It's living and breathing inside of another human being. Okay, so it's a very merging, melting kind of sex. And in that merging and melting, you feel, and it's like you are living inside of them. You have such knowing of that other person, because I am you now. I have died. Like I have totally lost myself and my sense of who I am and melted into you. So this kind of sex is also where, you know, it's kind of like kamikaze, right? It's like where it's like you're literally like annihilating yourself, like totally getting lost. So so there's a lot of romance involved in this one, right? Where it's like totally like losing yourself in another person, and then next thing you know, we're like, well, you know, and so that's that kind of sex. And so that's a junction from the heart protector into the heart. And so in lovemaking, right, or in sexual relationships, most people tend to be one or the other, you know, or unless you consider yourself, you know, a master of sex, or you're very well versed in sex. Like ideally you want to be able to be well versed in both, you know, so that you can connect with whomever you're making love with. But this is one of the big issues in sexual incompatibility, is because one person is one way and another person is the other way, and they just don't know, or it's more challenging, right, to get off or receive pleasure and or to give pleasure in a way that you're not getting from. You know what I'm saying? So how did we get into that whole tangent? Well, because I've been talking about today, Venus moved into the sign of Cancer. And Venus is the goddess of love and beauty and sex and relationships. And Cancer, I was talking about how Cancer is one of the after Gemini, in my not so humble opinion, after Gemini, Cancer is one of the most misunderstood signs. So a lot of people think of Cancer as like this very mommy, nurturing, cuddly energy, feminine, you know, which it is. But there's also this other side to Cancer, right? That's very sneaky and indirect. Like it has, you know, it may not, you know, go about getting what it wants, or telling people what it wants directly. It kind of goes about things in a side way. And they're very defiant. So, you know, if you think that it's like this feminine, like, ooh, like mommy energy, but they're incredibly defiant. And why that is because a lot of Cancers in the shadowy expression, because there's a lot of insecurity involved, the tendency is not to trust others. That's why Cancer has that very hard shell. You know, is for protection. And part of that is not trusting others. I have seen this, you know, as a doctor, I just want to share this with you guys so that, you know, something that really lends to how I see the world and how I practice and the way that I work is when I, you know, first graduated from acupuncture school, I got an amazing job something that is just like ridiculous. Like I'm so blessed and so fortunate that that I had this opportunity. So just getting out of acupuncture school, I had this amazing job where I got to see, I would say, because I saw at least 10 patients a day, at least minimum 10 patients a day, 5 days a week. Sometimes I worked 6 days a week. So, I mean, I was seeing anywhere, minimum, 60 patients easy a week. And I mean, I worked there for several years, so I got a lot. And during that time was also when I began my astrological studies. Like I was doing that on my own private time, self-taught. So as I was, seeing patients and clients for Chinese medicine and acupuncture, I was also starting to experiment with their charts and learn about them via that way. And so learning through getting like this one-on-one experience, even though I wasn't doing readings, but I was still incorporating that into my practice so that I could keep learning. So I got to learn a lot about the signs through people. And so with the Cancer energy, something that's very common is like you'll tell them or you'll recommend for them what it is to do and they won't follow your advice. Like they'll actually do the opposite. Be honest. Be fucking honest. If you know a Cancer or you have Cancer energy prominent in your chart, be honest. Let me know. Because that's a shadow, by the way. It's not something that they really may or may not want to own. Is they will actually do the opposite of what they're told, even if it is in their best interest, because they are defiant. And it's because on a very deeper level, they have trust issues. So they go about things sideways, they're defiant, they're sneaky, and they're incredibly sexual. Like crazy, kinky, like really sexual. All water archetypes, all if you're into 5-element theory and you're a water type, you're very sexual. And you might be a closet sex freak, but it's there. So I just wanted to share with you guys, about the Venus moving into Cancer energy. And then the other thing that, because, Cancer has everything to do with your family and it's your roots and it's where you come from, your heritage. And so I also wanted to share so do you guys have any questions? I don't know who else. I think it's just you right now, Natalie, but let me see. Do you have any questions about this for now? So, do you relate to any, like, as far as those sexual types? Did that make sense? Like, would you say, like, that you resonate with one or the other, or that you're pretty fluid? I would guess, like, you probably tend to be fluid because that's your mastery, right? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to go and get some water, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to start talking about my awakening, my initiation into, and how that happened with my grandmother. Yeah, okay. I'm going to get some water and then I'll be right back. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to ask you is, so is that something that you notice? I mean, maybe you have different terminology. I don't know. I would love to know. With clients, like resonating with either nervous system, what we call, this is like more of a Chinese medicine lens, nervous system or sapiosexual versus I don't know. It's like melting and merging. It's heart protector or triple burner. I love the misunderstood signs. Yeah, me too. Me too. I carry a torch for Geminis. I do. It's not a secret. I love my Geminis. I think I've shared before, for the longest time, I was like, why do I always fucking attract Geminis? Like, what is it with Geminis? Like, all of the like romantic relationships. I mean, I've been with my husband for sure the longest, but before him, and there was a short, there's a period of time where, we had like taken a break or broken up for a little bit. We didn't get divorced or anything, but we had separated. And so, some other people that I've been, with and intimate, like so many of them are Geminis. I'm not, all right. Meaning most of the people that I've been with are Geminis or have like very strong Gemini energy. And I was like looking at my chart, for years, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I have Venus in Scorpio, which means that I'm attracted to and I attract scorpionic energy, like Scorpio energy big time, which is also a thing. I'm not saying that that isn't, but it was just like, where is this Gemini piece coming from? And it wasn't until I started working with the Venus star, which is more, this is more of the mystery school aspect of astrology. So the Venus mystery schools, Sophia and the Sophia traditions of the rose, and learning about the synodic cycle of Venus, that I found that I have my Venus star in Gemini, of course. And then I was just like and so of course my husband and my daughter, and also this other Gemini, like they all have their, like, either their sun or their Venus, like, on my Venus star. So it's just like, of course. So I carry a torch for you Gemini folks. All right, so let's get into, so my, like, I would say, like, where I really started waking up to my gifts and when I really started revolutionizing my business. And what I mean by that is I transitioned from working, as an acupuncture physician, doctor of oriental medicine, one-on-one, seeing clients, in my witch's cottage behind my house sort of deal, and or working for other people in wellness centers. Yeah, it's a thing. It's so a thing. So, and it makes sense because and then once I started integrating that aspect of me, my Venus star in Gemini, it was just like, whoa, like this, of course I'm going to attract them because it is me. Like, I have those qualities within me. And so, so the other one that I have is Leo. So I also tend to attract the Leos. So hence why you and I are grooving. So, all right. So coming back to, so growing up, I was raised what really, initiated this whole conversation is in my walk this morning, my grandmother, who is now, on the other side, she came in super hella strong talking to me this morning. And I was just crying and just going through the whole thing. And, I was very close to my grandmother growing up. And of course, I'm super close to her now. I'm even closer to her now than when she was alive because I work with her so much and I talk to her so much. And, but I, as a little girl, when for a while, both my mom and my dad, by the way, were in prison my mom was in for a very short period of time. And when my mom was there, I was living with my grandmother. So for some of my childhood, I lived with my grandmother. So, and I wasn't very close to my other grandmother. So it was just like, I'm very close to her. And so, my mom remarried, and my stepfather's family, were missionaries in Cuba. And so my dad, my stepfather, is now a preacher, whom I love, by the way. But growing up, I was raised in a very, what I would say, traditional, born again Christian home. And witchy stuff, and even the sexual expression and being, how I am, wasn't that accepted. And but I was always so like, I knew, I just like had this within me, like I was just like, I don't understand, like. And so when my grandmother passed away, I remember I was sitting on the stairs outside of my house, and I had her quilt, and I was, holding her quilt because my grandmother quilted. My grandmother was, an amazing quilter. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful quilts. She was a weaver, That's how she wove her magic. And I'm getting all the chill bumps now. Abuela. She says, I am here. I know you are. She was so spunky. I mean, she was an amazing cook. I remember, I'll never forget this. This is really funny. So Cham is a really great cook, by the way. And Cham has a lot of cancer placements. So, by the way, for anybody with a lot of cancer and or moon placements, y'all got to do kitchen witchery, man. We're going to start touching upon this, by the way, inside of the Mermaid Cleanse, so stay tuned. There's a lot of stuff, like, when you watch the replay, anyway, stay focused, Stephanie. Stay fucking focused. Okay. So he was cooking, and I remember, like, he had gotten some, like, barbecue ribs or something, and he brought them over we were at my mom's house. Like, we always used to, after church, we'd go to my mom's house, and, like, the whole family. And he had brought, like, these ribs over, and he was just, like, talking about how amazing these ribs were, and oh my God, like, the guy that cooks these is the best. And my grandmother comes in, and she's just like, well, if he's the best, then I'm the champion. And that's just like how she was. She was super spunky. I mean, she was not, she just told you how things were. And she had, like, I would say, in some ways, especially when it came to her cooking, like, pride and, like, I know who the fuck I am and what I bring to the table sort of vibe, And so I'll never forget that. Like, and so we still to this day joke about, oh, you're good, well, I'm the fucking champion. So anyhow, I was sitting outside of my house with her quilt, and I remember just hearing a voice, like, out of nowhere. And it was just like, you need to go back to your roots. And I heard it in her voice. She was like, Stephanie, you need to go back to your roots. And I was just like, what? Interesting. And within minutes, my mom calls me on the phone. And my mom's like, so we're going to go to Cuba because we're going to take Abuela's ashes, and we're going to take that to the, to the plot, to the cemetery where all of our family is buried in Cuba. And you can't come. I was just like, what the fuck? Right after my abuela, and then it clicked. I was just like, oh, my roots, like Cuba, like my family, like where I'm from. Oh. And here it is, my mom telling me, and you can't. So notice, like, the moon, right? My moon, my mother, is the subconscious, already telling me I can't. In hindsight, I know this, but I'm going to tell you what happens in the story and how I navigated that. So because I had just been told by my abuela, like, you need to go back to your roots, it was done. I was just like, oh, fuck no. And I started talking to my mom, and she was just like, and you can't go. And I was like, well, why? She's like, well, because should I tell you guys all of the details? Like, does it really? Yeah, I'll tell you. Because, yeah, it's significant. Um, she was just talking about, she's just like, well, we're going to rent a car, and there's not going to be enough room for you in the car. There's not enough room for you in the car. And da 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 da, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And then she was telling me who else was going. And I was just like, hold up. I was like, so and so's going. And it's okay for her to go, but I'm not going? I mean, my whole like ego and everything, was just like, oh, I wasn't taking no for an answer, came in strong, and was just like, oh, hell no. You know, I was just like, that's my abuela, that's my grandmother. Of course I'm going. And if anybody goes, it's me, and not, you know what I mean? Like, I'll be in that car. You could tell her to get out. Like, and that's how I was. Like, and I laugh about it, but it was that level of, you know, my shadow, the arrogance, the pride, the like, oh, fuck no. Like, I am doing this, and like, I'm not taking no for an answer. You know, so, but it was interesting as I go back and I reference, like, feeling like I'm too big, like there's not enough space for me, right? It's like, you're too big, like there's not enough space for you in the car, you know, all of these other reasons. Somebody's more important than you, somebody else takes precedence over you, blah, 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 right? And my mind was made up. I was just like, of course I'm going. And so I told that to my mom. I was just like, no, I'm going. And I'll see you there. Because I didn't even fly on the same, did I fly on the same plane with her? No. I got actually to Cuba first, and then she came after me. So I was just like, oh no, I'm going. So I just like did my own thing, and it was literally like I had to jump hoops. Literally had to jump hoops in order to make this happen, because it was so fast. It was like, it was a matter of a few days. I didn't have a passport. I still needed to get a visa. I still needed to get somebody to take care of my kids, arrange childcare, get the money together. You know, I was going to be there for, I think I was there for like 13 days, like 2 weeks. So there was a lot of things that I needed to do like now, but I made it happen. And it was I had said yes, I had decided. It was just like, you couldn't stop me. Wild horses couldn't stop me, and that was the power of the decision. And that power was also something that my abuela, one of her quotes. Okay, so when my feet touched the ground, there's so many stories I could go on to this, but when my feet touched the ground, I felt something. I was just like, I'm home. And while I was there, I actually got to witness Santera, the Afro-Cuban magical kind of, it's root work, like hoodoo root work, magic mixed with spirituality. I mean, their spiritual practice is rooted in, similar to voodoo, but it's because it comes from Africa, where the orishas, which are the Afro-Cuban deities, and the saints mixed together with ritual and working with the dead and things like that. So I got to witness that. And for years, my grandmother practiced this, but because I had grown up in a born-again Christian home, that was just like, you don't do that. And my mom was always talking about, I can't believe that, she still does this. My grandmother still does this. I mean, my grandmother had like garlic in her car and all of these things, the popcorn and the deities and the saints and the pictures and, like all of those things, like the ancestor altars all over her home. So once I got to Cuba, that was my awakening. It was me remembering my magic, that aspect of me that was, taught, or I was programmed to think it was wrong, and it was suppressed, and blah, 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 blah. So after that whole experience of going to Cuba is when my intuition really just started. I mean, talking to the other side, working with the other side, channeling, all of those different things began waking up, and I started bringing that into my practice with patients. And as I started bringing that, so for a while there, like I was also working with a lot of people who had experienced death, like they were, either close to death or somebody really close to them had died. And so, talking to the other side and to, those on the other side of veil was a part of my practice a lot in that I was really developing that part of me. And then music started coming in because I would start singing and doing like weaving in music with bringing, like opening up the space. So that is a big part of how I began integrating, first of all, astro magic and weaving that into, I would say my practice as a doctor. And then the music piece coming in, so singing with patients. And then eventually I had that experience that I shared with you, or I shared it like a couple of live streams ago, where I spoke about what really lit the fire underneath my ass with music was that, my dad heard me sing. And when he had heard me sing, and he was just like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing with your life, Stephanie. Like, you need to be singing. And then not too long after that, he got really sick. And I remember saying to myself, and it was and I had this conversation with my girlfriend who we had already been like creating music, but like not seriously, it was, we were doing it for fun, and we still do it for fun. I still do it for fun, but there wasn't this like now, like there's no time for you to be putting this on the back burner. There's no more time for you to be, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next week. Or it was, it was just like, there wasn't as a strong commitment on my part to it. And I remember when he was about, he got really sick, and I was just like, I want to come out with this song before he dies. I want him to see me. I want him to know that I did it before he dies. And so to wrap all of this up, and then your mom has that quality with her cooking. So does your mom cook like traditional, like you're Armenian, right? Armenian dishes? Now I have the comments on my phone. Look at the magic. They weren't working. Now they're working. So you have to find that thing that fucking motivates you. You have to find that thing that motivates you. Because if you don't have that thing that motivates you, it's human nature to settle. It's human nature to put it off. It's human nature to say, I'll get to it tomorrow. And this is why, and I'm going to say this again, I've shifted who I am choosing to work with. It's why I really love high performance athletes, entrepreneurs, performers in general, is because they have a goal, right? Like if you're a performance artist, like you have a date that you have to be on stage and perform, and it's like you have to perform for people. You need to be on. You have to be firing on all cylinders. And the masses, most people actually, they don't hold themselves to that standard. And I want to be very careful in my languages. I don't want to say that most people don't have what it takes, because I absolutely believe 110% that everything that you need and you require to be the highest level version of you and who you came here to be, you have. You may have not developed it. You may have not sharpened it as a tool. You may not be a master of it, but you have it inside of you. But the reason why there's mass mediocrity in the world, the reason why, there is the 5% and the 96% or whatever the percentage is, I believe it's 96 and 4. But why 96% of people that are, whether they're whether they're, even in therapy, even if when they take classes, even after listening to podcasts, listening to books or whatever, reading books. You know what I'm saying though? Why they don't make lasting change in their life is because they settle. And they put it off till tomorrow. But if you have, like, what's up, Walda is in the house. Walda is another amazing, I believe Walda is a business astrologer. Welcome. Say hello when you get on, babe. Why, it's so easy to just, like for example, like I'm doing this 90-day journaling challenge. I think, Natalie, you're doing it with me, right? So anyhow, I'm doing this 90-day journaling challenge with Leah Steele. And do you know how many times, sometimes, I'm just like, I'll just go to bed and I'll do 2 tomorrow, or I'll just, I'll do it tomorrow. And because I do it too. And I don't, I stay up. I've been doing it. But what I'm saying is it's so easy. And even something as easily as journaling, I mean, it doesn't really take a lot of energy to journal. You know what I mean? So something even as easy as that, your human nature is to put it on the back burner and say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll get to it tomorrow. And then tomorrow gets there. And you've already broken a promise and a commitment to yourself. And every time that you break a promise and a commitment to yourself, you're reaffirming that, number one, you don't keep your promises, that you don't trust yourself. Because why would you trust something that doesn't keep a promise, that doesn't do what they say they're going to do? And also reaffirming that you're not worth it. I'm not worth it. I'm not worth taking the extra 5 minutes to just journal before I turn the light out at night. I'm not worth it. And then you do that one time, and that one time turns into 2 times. Because once you do it once, you're loose now. You're a little loosey-goosey. You start getting loosey-goosey. It gets easier and easier. Anybody who's worked out, or anybody who's committed to anything for any length of time, let me know in the comments. Once you kind of stop, it's like it becomes easy. Like it doesn't happen overnight though. It happens slowly and sneakily over time. Like I was watching this video like and it was on Facebook, but it was like this woman's watering a plant, right? Or no, she's not watering the plant. She's like cutting, it's dead. Like the plant looks like fucking legit dead. And she's like trimming it. And then like there's another version of her. Have you guys seen that one? And she's like, that plant looks like it needs some water. And she's like, yeah, I'll get to it later. And she's just like, it looks like it's gonna die. Like you need to water that plant. And then there's like fire coming off of it, and she was just like, nah, it's okay. And then the girl was just like, okay. And it's the same thing with your hopes, your dreams, your wishes, your desires. It's like they're not gonna water themselves. Your bicep isn't gonna pump itself. Your pole dancing routine, I mean, and you fucking have stepped it up like amazing. I'm so incredibly impressed, Natalie. It's like, and that's why I love working with artists, performance artists, entrepreneurs, high performance athletes, because they have that fire underneath their ass. And if you don't have that fire underneath your ass, you need to find it. Because we all have an area inside of us that turns that switch on. We all have an area inside of us that turns that switch on. You may not know what it is. You may not have it pinpointed, but we all have it. And actually, this is what we do inside of Mars Moxie. Is we go down to your core wound. and we touch it. And we find that place inside of you where you are like no other. The core virtues that you cannot say no to. That you will not take no for an answer on. And it's that, when you bring that and you cultivate and you know how to wield the sword in service to that, it's a fire under your ass. I won't stop, can't stop. Wild horses couldn't stop me. And then learning how to continually tap into that. So you have to find that place inside of you. What is that thing where it's like, and this is why you'll hear me say this over and over again, your life, your real life, only begins as soon as you realize it could end. And that's why I share with you that story about my dad. And, you know, it was just like, he could die. Like, you know, he could die. You don't really know how much longer you're going to have with him. He could die. And he's just found out about your voice. He has told you, like, what are you fucking doing with your life? And I had to get all of my fucking shit in order. I had to change my whole lifestyle and make that number one priority in order to finish writing that song, because the song wasn't even fucking fully written. I had to finish writing the song because I wrote the hook for that song, the chorus, then record it, and now I'm in the process of still making the music video for it. But it was like I needed to have that fire underneath my ass. Otherwise, it would have just been a hobby. It would have just been something like, yeah, I sing every once in a while. I write music every once in a while. Or whatever. Apply it to your life. What is that one thing that if you like, that's going to light the fire? What's the negative consequence? What is going to happen if you don't do this thing? Take it there. Take it there. What is going to happen if you don't do this thing? So, I didn't know that that's what's going to come through, but when you guys start coming in, like, you guys, I guess I channel for you. That's just what happens. So, I wanted to share with you guys by the way, if you're interested in the Mars Moxie mastermind, I am in pre-sale. I've been sharing this with you guys just here on these lives and in some of my private containers. I am, for the first time ever, going to be offering a mastermind of Mars Moxie, one of my absolute nearest and dearest containers to my entire life, because it's about being an honor to the divine masculine, to men, to healing your relationship to men, to the man inside of you. And it's not a secret. Like, if you look around our world, the divine masculine is in so many distortions. Number one, with the government. That is like a huge symbol of masculine energy that is massively in distortion. And because that exists out in the world, it also exists inside of us. And when you begin healing your relationship to the balance of masculine energy and feminine energy inside of you, is when you experience the sacred marriage, the hierogamos. Okay? So this is, the name of the program is Harlequin the Huntress. Okay? I have been given, this is actually something that was given to me. It fucking dropped out of the sky, like literally, with my astro magic practice, and was given to me. What is up? Maria is in the house. She is one of my Mars Moxie alumni. She has done the Mars Moxie, I believe you were in the Aries round. Yes, what's up, Chica? So, but for the first time ever, so in the past, like, I have done several rounds of Mars Moxie. I've done it in Capricorn, I've done it in Aries, I've done it in the last decan of Leo, which is where Mars has magical dignity. I've done it in Scorpio, but this is the very first time that I will be doing Mars Moxie as a mastermind. So in the past, these Mars Moxie containers have run from anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 weeks. And this time it's going to be a mastermind because this year is very special. This year, Mars is retrograde in the sign of Gemini. And so for 8 months, this is the keynote of the year, in my not so humble opinion. This is the year of the tiger, and the tiger has stripes. Are you ready to earn your stripes? Are you ready to be unleashed like a tigress out of her cage? Are you ready to balance your masculine and your feminine energy? Are you ready to heal your relationship to men, to anger, to passion, to sex, in your relationships? So Harlequin the Huntress was, like I said, gifted to me. And the Huntress, raise your hand, any of you guys, Mars in Aries, yes. And Maria has also done the Mercury retrograde, yes. I think you did the one that was in Gemini. Maria is another Gemini. We got Geminis in the house. So, okay. Hold up, Stephanie. Rein in the horses. So, the Huntress archetype. So, the Huntress archetype, for women, is, it's akin to being in the driver's seat, like full on, in the driver's seat, grabbing the reins and just riding, right? Like going on an adventure. And like the devil may fucking care what the fuck I do with my life, like totally in her physical. The Huntress archetype is very athletic, very like comfortable in her body, comfortable in her sensuality, in her physical body, lover of the outdoors, and free, like incredibly free. And so, but in relationship, the Huntress archetype can tend to have challenges because there's so much masculine energy, and so this brings up problems in romantic relationships because of the polarity that can kind of get off, because when a woman, is in a lot of that masculine energy, and you're in relationship to a man, that polarity it's challenging. And that's something that I have really worked on, and I've had to work on a lot and it's one of the reasons why I went through so many of the challenges that I did, was because that masculine energy really needed to be channeled, and it needed to be in submission, or I needed to come into greater submission in my relationship. And so a lot of times people with the Huntress archetype, either they have a lot of challenges in their romantic relationships and or their relationships with other women, with other females, because that masculine, being cut off from their emotions, not even wanting to process their emotions, lots of like competition and jealousy kind of vibes. This can even play out in their sexual relationships. And so these are some of the shadows, right, of the Huntress archetype. So these are some of the themes that we're going to be addressing inside of Harlequin the Huntress, but it's not just the Huntress. We're also going to be working with the Harlequin the Harlequin archetype, which I'm super stoked about because it's very, very fun and it's very playful, and it's who here knows about Harley Quinn? Any of you guys know? Are you guys familiar with Harley Quinn, the wife? I think she's actually the wife. She might be the girlfriend, but I want to say that she's the wife of the Joker. Okay. Well, she's an interesting character. If you've ever seen, first of all, she has her own series, like in the comic books. But she also has her own movies like Birds of Prey. I think there's a Harley Quinn Birds of Prey. But I don't know which Batman she's in, but she's in one of the Batmans, because she's the girlfriend or the wife of the Joker. So it's a very Gemini archetype. So the Huntress is more of the Martian, I would say, archetype, but in a woman. So, there's feminine and there's masculine archetypes, right? So with the Huntress archetype, right, like ideally for a woman, you want to really be able to merge your lover archetype and have that be more prominent with then the Huntress to come afterwards. Like ideally, like I see that play out the best in most people, and I see that play out myself. And so that's more of the fiery archetype, I would say, for a woman. And because Mars, fire, is going to be in Gemini for so long, I mean, that's a lot of fire. It's a lot of fire, and it's in its retrograde phase, which is not where it's like it's a special way to play with the energy. So that's why this archetype was born. And I didn't come up with this. It wasn't like I was sitting down and I was just like, oh, like, what am I going to do? Like, da 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 da. No, like it came through, through the astro magic, through the parallel realm visitation things that I've been doing, through working with the fixed stars. And then I began working with a mentor that was just like totally really helped me to embody a lot of these things and activate them in ways like it was just like, whoa, like it brought clarity around like what the fuck I was doing, because it was like coming to me and I was just like, but it was coming in like pieces, and I was just like, but it was all like, I would look it up, like, so it would come in. And then I would go and be studying, and then it would be exactly the information that I had, like confirmation. I was just like, yo, I can't make this stuff up. So this archetype is an archetype that you can align with to navigate through this rite of passage that's going to be happening for 8 months. Harlequin, the Huntress. I mean, you can come up with your own, and absolutely, in fact, I feel like ideally, the more that you begin doing this work, you're going to start coming up with your own, like, because you're you, right? But you can also use these to play with and navigate, and they're fucking fun. Like, why not? Like, why not channel Marilyn Monroe and like channel your inner Marilyn? I don't, because they're fun, But artist, if you're an artist, like, you probably want to make your own stuff. So anyhow, maybe we'll do that in there. That's an interesting idea. Yes. Okay. So Harlequin is more of the Gemini, and it's a very twisted. I mean, Gemini in general, it kind of has. I would say it's a twisted. It's more of a twisted sign, and I say that in the best way possible. Y'all know I love you. Archetype, and that's an underworld thing. It's so an underworld thing because it's where things start to get a little bit mad and mischievous and funky. So I'm super, super stoked about this. Like, I'm literally head over heels about this, and I'm doing something really special. I'm offering like a pre-sale pricing on this now, which ends on the 20th. And on top of that, I'm also including two bonus rounds of the Mercury retrograde edition of Star Disco. It's because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. So every time that Mercury goes retrograde during this 8-month period, and not to mention, well, yeah, no, we're not going to go into that right now. Every time that Mercury goes retrograde, it's just going to pull in like a whole other level and a dynamic of that because it's the ruler of the sign. So I've decided to add these bonuses as part of the pre-sale, where you get to join the Mercury editions of Star Disco for the one that's in Libra, which is going to be happening in September, and then the one that's going to be happening in Capricorn in December. So if you like saving money and you like planning ahead, you will have time to start either one, planning ahead, saving money. I have extended payment plans on this available as well, so that you can already start, doing it like an extended payment plan towards, because Harlequin the Huntress does not begin until August 20th, okay? And then the Mercury retrogrades edition. So you have an option. So it's an 8-month mastermind. So you have the option of joining for the full 8 months, or at a minimum, you can join for 3 months. So the minimum is 3 months. And then if you want to come back in a la carte, like for a month at a time, you can do that at any time. And you can still get the original pre-sale rates, because the price is going to be going up. Yeah, I was going to say the timing of that, but I already did. It's going up on the 20th. So you get to keep the original rates and 3-month minimum, and that can be used at any time. So you don't even have to begin in August. August 20th. You can begin in September, October, November, December, whenever you want, but it's for 3 months in a row, because you need to have that 90-day time frame, okay? And then you can come back in later for a month at a time. The other option that you have is, if you just want to do the Mercury retrograde edition of Star Disco, you can purchase that too at a ridiculous, and I'm talking ridiculous pre-sale rate. It's redonkulous, it's redonkulous. So you can either purchase those solo, so let's say you want to do the Mercury in Libra one, or you want to do the Mercury in Capricorn one, which is until December, and you want to lock in your pre-sale rate, or you can bundle them together. So that is, so coming back to really finding that thing that motivates you, lighting that fire underneath your ass and really being able to tap into that all of the time. That's something really big that we're going to be doing in Harlequin the Huntress. Mars, that's Mars. It's your very, very initial sacred wounding. It's where the light comes in, and healing that, and healing your relationship to men, and healing the balance, you finding your own unique balance. And Mars absolutely is the ruler of athletes and entrepreneurs. So it's for athletes, artists, and entrepreneurs. And it's just going to be amazing. That's it. I'm not saying anything more. Do you guys have any questions about that? Or anything else other that I discussed? You guys feeling the Venus energy today? Natalie, for sure, go and watch this from the beginning, because I talk about all of the, I talk about the sexual piece, the 2 different type, I already spoke about it, but there were other things that I went into that I think that you would find valuable. But then I was also sharing about what's going to be happening in Sirens and Shadows, the Mermaid Cleanse, coming up, because we're moving into phase 2. And then I spoke about the High Priestess constellation and the yummy, amazing, delicious things that we're going to be doing in there as per glamour magic and role play and ritual and makeup and scent and all of the amazing fun things sexy times things. Yeah, it's going to be epic. It's going to be so good. So, last but not least, so let me just, so I can share with you guys. So we've got Origins of the High Priestess, which is a free masterclass, the sexual and oracular healing powers of sirens, snakes, mermaids, and dragons, happening on the 23rd. I will put the link if you want that, if you want the invitation to that, let me know in the comments. The High Priestess constellation begins on the 25th. It's a 10-day incubator. That's $333. There is a payment plan available for that. And then we have the Essence of Six, which is, I already did this at the very beginning of the year, where I go into, it's basically a strategy session looking at the numerology of the year, but then also looking at the astrology. And so I have all my three eyes. So my eyes and my intuitive sense looking at your chart and strategizing the year based upon your numerology, based upon your chart, and then I also do astro forecast, as well as an astro magic forecast. So that's something special. And then we're also doing a self-confidence formula. This might actually have to be 2 sessions, because there's a lot that we're going to cover in there, but it's going to be epic and amazing. So that is, you really want to be in there. That's going to be great. And that is on August 6th. That's $222, and there's a payment plan available for that. So if you're interested in me looking at your chart and strategizing for the rest of the year, for the rest of 2022, let's say maybe you're not on track, right? Or you're not or some things have shifted, or you're moving in a different direction, or you're just unclear of where to be focusing your time, your energy. Maybe there's certain challenges. You want to know where is most beneficial for you to be using your time and your energy for the rest of 2022, and you want me to look at your chart, definitely come to that. So just let me know in the comments what you're wanting, and I will send you the links. Sexy time. I'm gonna go feed myself. Yes, I love you too. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, I love you guys. Bye.